Laura, a centenarian woman, was strolling with her granddaughter Anna in a park downtown. But suddenly, the lady pointed her finger at an elderly man and said, "That's your father." Anna started laughing. Her father was still alive and well. To her, it was just another of her grandmother's delusions. However, the features of that gentleman were very similar to hers. Even though it seemed like nonsense, she couldn't get that man out of her head for a long time. Anna lived alone with her grandmother. The family was large, but only the granddaughter wanted to take care of Laura. Anna only had her father alive, who lived alone, and they rarely spoke. Their financial situation was difficult, but she was a hard-working person who didn't turn down any work opportunity and was able to take care of her grandmother. And even from afar, she also took care of her father. Anna and her grandmother Laura repeated the same walk every morning, and almost always that man was there sitting alone. Her grandmother always made the same gesture, raised her hand, pointed at the man, and said, "That's your father." Anna began to get more and more nervous. She knew her grandmother's mind was no longer the same, and she didn't always say things that made sense, but the fact that this was repeated several times made her worried. She then decided to do some research and seek information. It was possible to do a DNA test, but she couldn't afford it. So, Anna talked to a friend and asked for help on what to do. Her friend suggested she get a loan and do a test or find out the blood type of family members. Anna researched her own blood type, as well as the blood types of her parents. She discovered that both her parents were type O, which meant that they couldn't possibly be her biological parents. Anna sought out someone with more knowledge to confirm her findings, and through a professor recommended by her friend, she learned that parents with different blood types cannot have children with the same blood type. The truth came as a shock to Anna, who now wanted to know if that man in the park was really her father. Her grandmother had known the truth all along, but had only revealed it decades later when she was close to losing her sanity. Anna began to frequent the park more and more, even without her grandmother, hoping to encounter the man she believed could be her father. One day, she met a man named Manuel sitting in the park and struck up a conversation with him. Manuel was a widower with no children of his own. He had been living alone in a large and comfortable house since his wife died of cancer years ago. His only daughter had passed away at 18 years old from a genetic disease. Despite being retired, Manuel still worked because he didn't want to be idle and enjoyed keeping his mind occupied. As Anna spent more time with Manuel, she grew to like him and wanted to know more about him. However, when she tried to ask her grandmother about him, her responses were nonsensical. Anna felt like she had hit a dead end and was ready to give up on finding the truth. She considered the possibility of being adopted but had one person left to ask, her father, Nonato. Anna went to Nonato's house and prepared his favorite meal. As a direct person, she asked if she was adopted. Her father laughed and assured her that she was indeed his biological daughter. Anna then explained the whole situation to her father and he became serious. He had barely studied, so he didn't understand anything she was saying. He simply said, "I saw you coming out of your mother. I carried you in my arms myself. You are my blood daughter, from the moment you were born until I left the hospital. I never took my eyes off of you." Anna was confused, but felt relieved to hear those words from her father. Upon further reflection, she decided not to pursue this any further. What mattered was the love and affection that she and her father had, along with her grandmother. Life continued normally, and Anna and her grandmother Laura continued to take their morning walks. On a hot day, Laura left her grandmother alone and went to find somewhere to buy water. When she returned, she found Manuel talking to Laura. "Good morning, is she your grandmother? I tried to talk to her, but I can see that she's not very lucid. I was asking her name because she looks a lot like an old family friend that I haven't seen in years," said Manuel. Anna told him her grandmother's name and Manuel smiled broadly. It's her. What a coincidence. Your grandmother Laura worked in my house for many years, but then she got a better job at the hospital and we lost touch, said Manuel. Anna discovered that her grandmother had helped Manuel a lot when he had a daughter with a genetic disease. She needed care and whenever she could, Laura helped. However, after a few years, Laura stopped visiting him and they never heard from her again. Anna, who had already given up, now wanted to know the truth. There were too many coincidences for her to deny everything that was happening. Manuel continued to talk about the past. He had met her mother, they had talked a few times, but they didn't become friends. He also said that her mother was called My Little Miracle, because she had lost 3 babies before and the 4th surviving one was considered a miracle. But that's what happened. Anna was born, a beautiful and healthy baby girl. At that moment, everything started to make sense for Anna. She said goodbye to Manuel and ran to her father to ask more about her mother and the babies she had lost. Her father Nonato told her everything that Manuel had also said about the babies her mother lost, but they never knew the reason for it. Anna was almost sure of what had happened. She just needed to hear everything from the person who started all this, her grandmother. Anna tried to talk to Laura for days, but nothing came out of her. Often, she would be quiet or just speak incoherent words. There were rare moments of lucidity from her grandmother. She would have to wait, and so she did. One day, Laura woke up and said, "Good morning, my granddaughter. You look so tired. Is something happening?" Anna then said, "Grandma, I need you to tell me the truth. I already know everything that happened, but I need to hear the truth from you, or else I won't have peace. Please tell me who my real father and mother are." Laura reflected for a few seconds and a tear fell from her face. "My dear Anna, this is a sin that even if I lived for another 100 years, I would not be forgiven. I hid this from everyone for a long time and did everything for selfish reasons, but deep down, I told myself that it was for the good of my family. My son Nonato and his wife dreamed of having a child, and my dream was to be a grandmother and see my son and his wife happy. She became pregnant 3 times, but each of the babies lived for only 1 year. We were very poor and couldn't treat them. Whatever the children had, I worked for a long time in the house of a very wealthy man, Manuel, who also dreamed of having a child with his wife. Both Nonato's wife and Manuel's wife became pregnant at the same time and had the babies on the same day. When you were born, I no longer worked for Manuel. I was working at the hospital. Now I want you to understand my mother's and grandmother's side. Even though I knew it wasn't right, I swapped you two when no one was looking. At that time, there wasn't as much security as there is today. I couldn't stand to see my son suffer anymore and even feared he would do something foolish. You are Manuel's daughter. I knew that my son Nonato's daughter wouldn't survive long with the few conditions we had. So, I put her in your place. Because he had means, the girl lived for 18 years. If she had been raised by us, she wouldn't have lasted a year. I condemned my soul, but I managed to make my son have a wonderful daughter and also make my biological granddaughter live longer in a family with better conditions. I know my sin has no forgiveness. Every day I am haunted by what I did. I never told anyone this. I hope that one day you can forgive me. It's a burden that I will carry until my last days." When Laura finished speaking, Anna just cried and didn't say anything. She didn't feel angry, she didn't feel sad, she just felt sorry for everything her grandmother went through and had to do. Laura couldn't handle so much emotion and passed out. Anna took her to the hospital and prayed for her grandmother's survival. While she was unconscious, Anna thought about what to do. It was a very big secret to keep to herself. Both Nonato and Manuel had to know the truth. First, she called her father, who raised her all her life. Nonato looked sad and said that Anna was his daughter, no matter if by blood or not, but he wanted to have known his biological daughter while she was still alive. Nonato also said that he forgave his mother for what she did, but it was something terrible to do. Lastly, Anna had to talk to Manuel, her biological father, but she didn't have his contact. So, she had to wait for him at the square. She didn't know how to tell him when Manuel appeared. Anna called him for a coffee and told him everything. She told all the details of what Laura did. Manuel said, "I can't believe it, she took my biological daughter from me and still made me raise and love a girl she knew was sick. What kind of human being is she? I can't forgive her. I treated her as a friend even when she worked in my house, and yet I was betrayed and stabbed in the back. I need to do the DNA to be sure." Manuel was quite agitated and nervous. Only anger was visible in his eyes. Laura was discharged from the hospital, and Anna took the DNA test. The result was positive. When Manuel found out, he said, "Even though you are my daughter, I can't feel anything for you. I don't want to see you. I can't accept this." Manuel left in a rage and said not to go after him ever again. Anna just cried, but she didn't go after her father. Some time passed, and they went on with their lives normally. Her grandmother had fewer and fewer lucid moments. However, her granddaughter thought it was better for her because whenever her consciousness returned, Laura became sad and was haunted by what she did in the past. Anna discovered where the girl who was switched with her was buried and wanted to visit her grave. Even though they weren't related, Anna felt like they were sisters, even though she never knew her. She went to the cemetery, found the spot where she was buried, and for a few minutes, Anna stayed there praying for her soul. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Manuel. He then spoke, "I hope I didn't give you the wrong impression. I'm not a grudge-bearing person, but the fact that my daughter died changed my life completely. When we brought her home, it was one of the happiest days of my life. However, as she grew up, the symptoms of her illness started to appear. My wife and I suffered greatly from all of this. She eventually stopped walking, talking, and sometimes she would cry, but we didn't know why. When she passed away, my world crumbled, just like my wife's. My wife stopped smiling, barely ate, and rarely left the house. Over time, she also became sick from sadness, and cancer appeared years later. She also passed away, and I was alone in the world. I suffered greatly. That's why I want you to understand that what your grandmother did changed my life. I don't regret raising her, even though she wasn't my blood. I would raise her again as many times as necessary, but all of this changed my life. I can't forgive Laura, but I also don't want to hold a grudge forever. It would only hurt me. I'm trying to see the good side now. I have 2 daughters, one who is no longer with me and another that life introduced me to." When he finished speaking, Anna hugged him. Nonato and Manuel met and maintained a good relationship, but Manuel only greeted Laura politely and never spoke more than that with her. Deep down, he hadn't forgiven her. Anna had gained 2 fathers who loved her, and she felt happy that everything had been resolved over time. Thank you for watching our channel. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe here to Special Stories. That way, you motivate me to bring more videos like this every day.